The space station times convergence point times floated in the darkness between two star systems like a metal island in an ocean of stars. Ships from a dozen different worlds docked at its ports, bringing traders, diplomats, and travelers from across the galaxy. Today, it would host one of the most important meetings in recent history. Captain Marcus Chen stepped off the human transport ship and walked through the station's corridors. He wore a simple, dark blue, diplomatic uniform, with no weapons visible on his belt. His brown hair was neatly combed, and his calm brown eyes showed no hint of worry. To anyone watching, he looked like just another peaceful human diplomat. The other species in the corridors gave him curious looks. Humans were still new to galactic politics. Most aliens thought they were weak and soft creatures who had somehow managed to build spaceships. The humans always sent their diplomats alone to meetings, which seemed foolish to warrior races who traveled with armed guards. Marcus reached the main conference room and paused outside the heavy metal doors. Inside, he knew the Valorian Empire delegation was waiting. The Valorians were one of the most powerful military forces in this part of the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds through pure strength and superior technology. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. Marcus walked into a large circular room with a polished metal table in the center. Tall windows showed the starfield outside, making the room feel like it was floating in space itself. Empress Zarathul sat at the far end of the table. She was nearly 7 feet tall, with pale blue skin and silver markings across her face that showed her royal status. Her eyes were bright purple and cold as winter ice. She wore black armor, decorated with the symbols of her many military victories. Around the room stood her personal guards. Each warrior was massive, standing over 8 feet tall, with muscles enhanced by genetic modification. Their armor was polished to a mirror shine, and energy weapons hung from their belts. These were the Empire's elite soldiers, each one worth 100 normal fighters. Marcus walked to his seat across from the Empress and sat down calmly. He placed a simple datapad on the table and folded his hands. Your Majesty, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I hope we can find terms that benefit both our peoples. Empress Zarathul stared at him for a long moment. She had expected the humans to send a team of negotiators with their own guards. Instead, they sent one man with no protection at all. It was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Human, she said, her voice deep and commanding. I agreed to this meeting because my advisors said your species might have something useful to offer. I am beginning to doubt their wisdom. Marcus smiled politely. I understand your concerns, Your Majesty. Humans may seem different from other species you have dealt with. We prefer to solve problems through discussion, rather than force. One of the Valorian guards shifted slightly, and Marcus noticed the movement without turning his head. These warriors were alert and ready for action. They probably thought he was easy prey. The Empress leaned forward. Your people control 17 star systems along our border. My empire needs those systems for expansion. You will give us the coordinates to your colonies and withdraw your ships. In return, we will allow your species to continue existing in the systems we do not need. The offer was exactly what Marcus had expected. The Valorians saw humans as weak and believed they could simply take whatever they wanted through threats. Many species had tried this approach with humanity over the past 50 years. I appreciate your directness, Your Majesty, Marcus said calmly. However, those star systems contain millions of human civilians. Families, children, people who have lived their entire lives on those worlds. We cannot simply abandon them. Not. The Empress's purple eyes flashed with anger. Both, Marcus replied. His voice remained steady and polite, but something in his tone made the nearest guard take a small step forward. You refuse the generous offer of the Valorian Empire? The Empress stood up slowly. Her guards moved slightly, ready to act on her command. You would choose death over wisdom? Marcus looked around the room, noting the position of each guard. 10 elite warriors, all armed, all enhanced, all trained from birth to kill efficiently. Any normal diplomat would be terrified. Most would already be begging for mercy or trying to change the terms of negotiation. Instead, Marcus Chen began to smile. It was not a nervous smile or a diplomatic smile meant to calm the situation. It was the smile of a man who had just heard exactly what he wanted to hear. The smile of someone who had been sitting still for too long and was finally about to get some exercise. The Valorian guards noticed his expression and exchanged confused glances. They had seen many different reactions to mortal danger, but genuine pleasure was not one of them. Empress Zarathul saw the smile too, and it made her pause. Something was wrong here. Humans were supposed to be peaceful, frightened creatures who would surrender when faced with superior force. This one looked like he was about to enjoy himself. "You find death amusing, human?" she asked. Marcus stood up slowly and began rolling up his sleeves. "Your Majesty, I think there has been a misunderstanding about my people. We are not afraid of death. We are afraid of living without honor. The Nother Daber. The Nother Daber. The Nother Daber. The Nother Daber. We are Majesty. We are Majesty. We are Majesty." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as the 10 elite warriors began to move into position. The 10 Valorian elite warriors moved like a pack of hunting animals, spreading out to surround Marcus. Their boots made soft clicking sounds on the metal floor as they positioned themselves in a perfect circle around the human diplomat. Each warrior was a masterpiece of genetic engineering and cybernetic enhancement, bred for one purpose: killing efficiently. Empress Zarathul remained standing, her purple eyes fixed on Marcus. She had used this intimidation tactic hundreds of times with other species. The sight of her elite guard in attack formation usually made enemies surrender immediately or beg for mercy. Marcus looked around the circle of towering warriors, each one nearly twice his size and weight. Their energy weapons hummed with deadly power. Their enhanced muscles could crush steel with bare hands. Their reflexes were faster than normal biological limits. "You know," Marcus said conversationally, as if discussing the weather, "this is the most interesting diplomatic meeting I have had in months." The nearest warrior, Commander Vextar, stepped closer. His face was hidden behind a combat mask, but his voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. "Human, you have exactly 10 seconds to surrender and provide the colonial coordinates. After that, we will take them from whatever remains of you." Marcus tilted his head thoughtfully. "Commander, may I ask how many wars your empire has fought?" "Ah." The question caught Vextar off guard. "What does that matter to a dead man?" "Humor me," Marcus said. "I am genuinely curious about Valorian military history." Empress Zarathul frowned. This was not how fear was supposed to work. "We have conquered 47 star systems through superior military might. We have never lost a major conflict." "Impressive," Marcus nodded approvingly. "And how many of those wars were against species similar to yourselves?" "Large, strong, technologically advanced?" "All of them," the Empress replied coldly. "We only fight worthy enemies." Marcus smiled that strange, pleased smile again. "That explains the problem." "What problem?" Commander Vextar demanded. "You have never fought humans before," Marcus said simply. He began unbuttoning his diplomatic jacket with calm, deliberate movements. "Your entire military doctrine is based on fighting enemies who think like you do. Big, direct, powerful. You assume all dangerous species follow the same patterns." The warriors tensed as Marcus removed his jacket and placed it carefully on his chair. Underneath, he wore a simple black shirt that showed a surprisingly athletic build, though nothing that seemed threatening compared to the enhanced giants surrounding him. "You see," Marcus continued, "humans learned warfare differently than most species. We did not start as the strongest, or fastest, or most advanced. We started as prey animals on a dangerous world, Everything bigger than us wanted to eat us. Everything smaller than us was poisonous or carried diseases that could kill us. He rolled his shoulders and stretched his neck like someone preparing for exercise. So we learned to survive by being unpredictable. We learned to use tools, to set traps, to work together, and most importantly, to never fight fair, when fighting meant survival. Commander Vextar had heard enough. Your history lesson ends now, human. He stepped forward and reached out with one massive hand to grab Marcus by the throat. Marcus moved. The movement was so fast and unexpected that Vextar's enhanced reflexes could not keep up. One moment, the human was standing still, talking calmly. The next moment, Vextar found himself flying through the air toward the opposite wall. Marcus had not punched him or used any obvious technique. He had simply grabbed the warrior's extended arm, used his forward momentum against him, and redirected all that enhanced mass and speed in a new direction. Physics did the rest. Vextar crashed into the wall with a sound like thunder. His armor cracked, and he slumped to the floor, stunned, but not seriously injured. The other 9 warriors stared in shock for exactly 1 second. Then they all attacked at once. This was the moment Marcus had been waiting for. As the circle of warriors converged on him, he moved like water flowing around stones. He ducked under one warrior's swing and used that warrior's own weapon to block another's attack. He stepped between 2 others, causing them to crash into each other instead of him. The warriors were incredibly strong and fast, but they fought like warriors. They expected direct confrontation, strength against strength, technique against technique. They had been trained to fight enemies who would stand and face them honorably. Marcus fought like a human. He fought dirty. When one warrior swung an energy blade at his head, Marcus dropped to the floor and swept the warrior's legs. As the giant fell, Marcus grabbed his weapon and threw it at another attacker. When 2 warriors tried to grab him from both sides, he jumped up and used their helmets as stepping stones to vault over them. The room filled with the sounds of crashing armor, surprised shouts, and the occasional grunt of pain from a warrior who had just learned that humans were much more flexible than they appeared. Empress Zarathul watched in growing disbelief as her elite guards, the most feared warriors in the galaxy, were being systematically dismantled by a single human diplomat who seemed to be enjoying himself immensely. "Impossible," she whispered. "This cannot be happening." But it was happening, and Marcus Chen was just getting started. The conference room had turned into a battlefield, but not the kind of battlefield the Valorian warriors understood. They were used to organized combat with clear battle lines and honorable single combat. What they faced now was chaos in human form. Marcus moved through the circle of elite warriors like a dancer performing a deadly ballet. Every movement served multiple purposes. When he dodged one attacker, he positioned himself to use that attacker as a shield against another. When he grabbed a weapon, he immediately used it in ways its makers had never intended. Warrior Kethvar swung his energy staff in a wide arc, expecting to catch the human in an unavoidable strike. Marcus dropped to one knee and caught the staff mid-swing, using the warrior's own momentum to spin him around. As Kethvar stumbled, confused by his sudden change in direction, Marcus stood up and delivered a precise strike to a nerve cluster behind the warrior's enhanced armor. Kethvar collapsed instantly, his nervous system temporarily overloaded. His genetic modifications made him stronger and faster, but they also made certain pressure points more sensitive than nature intended. The remaining 7 warriors regrouped, finally beginning to understand they were not fighting a normal enemy. Commander Vextar pulled himself to his feet. His armor dented, but his pride hurt more than his body. "Form battle pattern 7, he ordered through his communication system. "No more individual attacks. We end this now." The warriors moved into a formation designed to corner dangerous prey with no escape routes. It was a tactic that had worked against every enemy they had ever faced. Large, powerful beings could not move fast enough to escape when surrounded by coordinated attackers. Marcus watched them organize and nodded approvingly. Now you are thinking tactically. Much better. But as they closed in, Marcus did something completely unexpected. Instead of trying to escape the tightening circle, he ran straight toward the nearest warrior. Warrior Zephrok raised his energy shield and braced for impact, expecting the human to exhaust himself against superior defenses. Instead, Marcus slid between the warrior's legs, grabbed an equipment pack from his belt, and kept running toward the wall. The wall of the conference room was made of reinforced metal and transparent aluminum windows that could withstand weapons fire. Marcus reached into Zephrok's equipment pack, pulled out a small device, and threw it at the nearest window. The device was a standard Valorian breaching charge, designed to blow holes in enemy fortifications. When it exploded against the window, alarms throughout the station began wailing. Emergency barriers slammed down, and the room's gravity generators fluctuated wildly. Suddenly, the warrior's enhanced mass became a severe disadvantage. As gravity shifted and changed, they stumbled and crashed into each other. Their heavy armor and cybernetic implants made them too heavy to adapt quickly to the changing conditions. Marcus, being smaller and more flexible, used the chaos to his advantage. He bounced off walls and ceilings like a rubber ball, striking pressure points and nerve clusters on the confused warriors. Each touch was precise and calculated, designed to disable rather than kill. Warrior Morden tried to fire his energy weapon, but the shifting gravity made accurate aim impossible. The shot went wide and struck another warrior instead, overloading his armor's power systems. The warrior collapsed as his cybernetic enhancements shut down to prevent damage. "Your technology is impressive," Marcus called out as he ricocheted off a wall to avoid another attack. "But you depend on it too much. When conditions change, you cannot adapt fast enough." End quote. Commander Vexus Tar snarled in frustration and activated his armor's magnetic locks, anchoring himself to the metal floor. "Stand still and fight like a warrior." "Why would I do that?" Marcus asked, genuinely puzzled. "That would be stupid." He grabbed a loose piece of debris from the damaged window and threw it at Vextar's helmet. The commander's enhanced reflexes caught it easily, but the catch required him to release his magnetic locks for better balance. Marcus had counted on this reaction. The moment Vextar's boots lost contact with the floor, Marcus was there. He grabbed the commander's armor and used the warrior's own weight and momentum to send him spinning through the air. Vextar crashed into two other warriors, and all three went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. Within minutes, all 10 elite warriors lay unconscious or disabled on the conference room floor. Some were simply stunned. Others had their armor's power systems overloaded, and a few had been knocked out by precise strikes to pressure points their genetic modifications had made vulnerable. Marcus stood in the center of the destruction, barely breathing hard. His diplomatic shirt was wrinkled, but not torn. His hair was slightly messed up. Otherwise, he looked like he had just finished a light workout at a gym. The gravity stabilized, and the emergency alarms stopped wailing. Station security would arrive soon, but they would find only unconscious Valorian warriors and one perfectly calm human diplomat, straightening his tie. Empress Zarathul stared at the scene in complete shock. Her worldview, built on the certainty that strength and size determined victory, lay in ruins, along with her guards. She had watched this impossible human defeat her most elite warriors without even seriously injuring them. Marcus picked up his diplomatic jacket and put it back on. He smoothed down his hair and returned to his seat at the conference table. "Now then, Your Majesty, shall we continue our discussion about those star systems?" The Empress continued to stare at him, her purple eyes wide with disbelief and something that might have been fear. "What are you?" she whispered. Marcus smiled politely and opened his datapad. "I am a human diplomat, Your Majesty. Though I suppose I should mention that all human diplomats receive comprehensive cross-training in other fields. We find it helps us better understand the full range of options available in any given situation." The conference room fell silent, except for the soft groaning of unconscious Valorian warriors scattered across the floor. Empress Zarathul remained frozen in her chair, staring at Marcus as if he were some kind of mythical creature that had stepped out of a legend. Marcus calmly accessed his datapad and began reviewing documents. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should discuss this situation more openly. I believe there have been some fundamental misunderstandings about the nature of human civilization." The Empress found her voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "Your species. You are not what our intelligence reports indicated." "I imagine not," Marcus agreed. "Most species make the same mistake when they first encounter humans. They see our peaceful approach to diplomacy and assume we are weak. They observe that we rarely start wars and conclude that we cannot fight them. These assumptions are understandable, but incorrect." He gestured to the disabled warriors around them. "Your guards are exceptional soldiers, Your Majesty. Each one could probably defeat a dozen normal fighters from most species. Their training, equipment, and genetic enhancements represent the finest military development your empire has achieved." Empress Zarathul nodded slowly. "They are the greatest warriors in known space. Against enemies like themselves, yes," Marcus said. "But they were trained to fight other large, strong, technologically advanced opponents. They learned tactics designed for formal warfare between organized military forces. They never learned to fight humans. Thanks for watching. They learned to fight humans." The Empress leaned forward, her fear beginning to mix with curiosity. "What makes your species so different?" Marcus stood up and walked to the damaged window, looking out at the stars. "We evolved on a world that was trying to kill us constantly. Earth was not a paradise where the strongest species ruled through pure might. It was a chaotic environment where survival required constant adaptation." He turned back to face her. "Every other predator was bigger than us, stronger than us, or had natural weapons we lacked. So we learned to survive by being smarter, more adaptable, and more creative in our solutions to problems. But surely raw strength must count for something," the Empress protested. "It does," Marcus agreed. "Strength is a valuable tool. But humans learned that the most dangerous opponent is not the strongest one. It is the one who can think of solutions you never considered." He walked over to where Commander Vextar lay unconscious and knelt beside him. "This warrior has reflexes 3 times faster than baseline human speed. His bones are reinforced with metal alloys. His muscles can generate enough force to crush steel. But all of these advantages depend on him fighting the way he was trained to fight." Marcus touched a spot behind the commander's ear, and Vextar's eyes fluttered open. The warrior tried to sit up but found his body would not respond properly. He could see and hear, but his motor control was severely limited. "The pressure point I used overloads the cybernetic interface between his brain and his enhancements," Marcus explained to the Empress. "His own technology becomes a weakness when turned against itself." Vextar tried to speak but could only manage a weak whisper. "Impossible. No one knows about that interface weakness. Human military researchers study every piece of technology they encounter," Marcus said gently. "We assume that someday we might need to fight against it. This is not paranoia, Commander. This is preparation." The Empress stared at her greatest warrior, reduced to helplessness by knowledge she had not even known existed. "How many species have you fought? How many species have you fought?" Marcus returned to his seat. "Directly? Very few. Humans prefer peaceful solutions whenever possible. But we have studied the military capabilities, technologies, and tactics of every spacefaring species we have encountered, just in case." "Just in case of what?" "Just in case someone forces us to fight," Marcus said simply. "Your Majesty, humans have a saying. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We genuinely want peace with all sentient species. But we learned long ago that peace is only possible when both sides understand the full cost of war." The Empress looked around the room at her disabled elite guard. "And What would be the cost of war with humanity? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. Your warriors are individually superior to human soldiers in almost every measurable way. Your technology is more advanced than ours in most areas. Your industrial capacity could probably outproduce our military shipyards. The Empress began to look hopeful, but Marcus continued. However, Your Majesty, you have never fought an enemy that makes war the way humans do. We do not fight for glory or conquest. We do not have rules about honorable combat. When humans fight for survival, we fight to win by any means necessary. He touched his data pad, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed star maps with colored zones marking different territories. Every human colony has detailed intelligence about surrounding systems. Every civilian ship carries military communication equipment. Every human settlement is designed to be a fortress if needed. We do not have soldiers and civilians, Your Majesty. We have people who are currently fighting, and people who are not currently fighting. The hologram zoomed in to show individual star systems. If you invaded our territory, you would not be fighting our military. You would be fighting our entire species. Every farmer, every teacher, every merchant would become a guerrilla fighter who knows the local terrain better than your soldiers ever could. Empress Zarathul stared at the display. Total war. If necessary, Marcus confirmed. But it would not need to come to that. Because now that you understand what humans truly are, we can discuss a much better alternative. Marcus touched his datapad again, and the holographic display changed to show new information. The star maps now revealed something that made Empress Zarathul lean forward with sudden interest and growing alarm. Your Majesty, I have been authorized to share classified intelligence with you, but only if our negotiations reach this point, Marcus said. What I am about to show you changes everything about our situation. The hologram displayed a section of space beyond both human and Valorian territories. Dark zones spread across multiple star systems, like an infection, marking areas where entire civilizations had simply vanished. 3 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected something moving through the outer rim territories, Marcus continued. At first, we thought it was just another aggressive species expanding their territory, but the pattern was wrong. With Ko, with Khan, with Ko, the Empress studied the display. These systems, they are not conquered, they are empty. Completely empty, Marcus confirmed. No life signs, no artificial signals, no debris from battles. Everything organic has been systematically removed. Even the bacteria in the soil is gone. A chill ran down the Empress's spine. What could do such a thing? Marcus manipulated the controls, and the display zoomed in on the edge of the dark zones. Now, they could see massive geometric shapes moving between the dead systems. The objects were clearly artificial but unlike any technology either species had encountered. We call them the Devourers, Marcus said quietly. They appear to be ancient artificial intelligences that consume all organic matter for raw materials. Our xenoarchaeology experts believe they may be older than any current galactic civilization. The Empress stared at the alien constructs. Each one was the size of a small moon, bristling with unknown technologies. How many of them are there? Our scouts have identified 47 individual units so far, but they appear to be constructing more from the materials they harvest. Marcus replied. And, Your Majesty, they are moving in this direction. The hologram showed projected movement patterns. The Devourers were advancing slowly but steadily through space, consuming everything in their path. Their projected course would bring them into contact with both human and Valorian territories within 5 years. This is why I revealed humanity's true capabilities to you today, Marcus said. Because we are about to face an enemy that makes our territorial disputes completely meaningless. Empress Zarathul stood up and walked closer to the display. Have you attempted to communicate with these machines? Several species have tried, Marcus said grimly. The Kethmoran Republic sent a diplomatic fleet. The machines consumed it along with everything else. The Zephyrian Alliance attempted a preemptive military strike. Their entire battle fleet was dismantled and absorbed within hours. The Empress turned to look at her unconscious warriors. And you believe our forces together might succeed, where others have failed? Marcus stood up and joined her beside the hologram. Your Majesty. Alone. Neither of our species can survive this threat. The Devourers are too advanced, too numerous, and too efficient. But together, we might have a chance. He gestured to the display. Valorian military might combined with human tactical flexibility could create strategies these machines have never encountered before. Your warriors' strength and technology, guided by human adaptability and unconventional thinking. You want an alliance, the Empress said. I want both our species to survive, Marcus replied. The Devourers see no difference between Valorians and humans. To them, we are all just organic matter to be processed. If we fight each other, we die separately. If we fight together, we might live. The Empress was quiet for several minutes, studying the display and thinking. Around them, her warriors were slowly beginning to regain consciousness, helped by medical nanobots in their armor systems. They looked embarrassed and confused, but they were listening to the conversation. Human, she said finally, Marcus Chen. You could have kept your species' capabilities secret. You could have let us underestimate you and used that advantage against us someday. Why reveal the truth? Truth reveality. Truth reveality. Marcus smiled, and this time it was not the grin of someone anticipating a fight. It was the warm smile of someone offering genuine friendship. Because the best defense against a superior enemy is not hiding how strong you are, Your Majesty. It is making sure your potential enemies understand exactly why they should be your allies instead. He extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting and partnership. The Valorian Empire has never lost a major conflict because you are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Humanity has survived every threat we have faced because we adapt and endure. Together, we might be strong enough to face something that neither of us could defeat alone. Empress Zarathul looked at the offered hand, then at the display showing the approaching threat, then at her warriors, who had learned hard lessons about underestimating humans. Slowly, she reached out and grasped Marcus's hand. Very well, Captain Chen. The Valorian Empire will stand with humanity against this threat. But I want to know everything about your species' military capabilities. No more secrets. No. 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 No more secrets. Marcus grinned. Your Majesty, I thought you would never ask. Wait until you see what happens when we really get creative. As station security finally arrived at the conference room, they found an unprecedented sight. The most feared empress in the galaxy, shaking hands with a human diplomat, while her elite warriors sat on the floor, looking simultaneously humbled and fascinated. The territorial dispute that had brought them together was forgotten. Now they had a war to prepare for. And for the first time in galactic history, the machines that had consumed countless civilizations were about to face an enemy that fought back in ways they had never encountered. The Devourers were about to learn why the two most adaptable warrior species in the galaxy had decided to become friends.